Oh man, Jordan, what did you do before you came on at Highlands?
So I'll give you the abbreviated pitch. Grew up in a pastor's home, so always been around. I tell people I've been going to church since negative 9 months. So like my whole life, always been around church. But when I began, work career post school, I found myself in a building materials wholesale company in Birmingham, Alabama, and was young, was 24, 25 years old, and found myself really in really short order becoming the regional manager of that. So at 26, I had 17 locations across 4 or 5 different states, doing a couple $100 million a year in sales with those, and was leading that, and but still kind of felt that draw to ministry. So
where'd you go to college?
I started at Auburn, War Eagle. So
War Eagle.
Started there.
This guy too?
I didn't finish there. Ended up finishing at SEU with my undergrad. Got a master's at Liberty, and then currently in a doctoral program.
What was your master's in?
Executive leadership.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, with Liberty.
I'm thinking about doing that. I don't know what they call it now at SEU. It's like mimics, something.
The mammal, yeah.
Yeah. I'm thinking about doing that. They've been talking to me about it.
Yeah, you should do the cohort version if you do it.
So you were working in that, and then when did you come on with? Because you came on with Church of the Highlands before Highlands College, right?
Yeah. So 2012, I think it was 2012. I joined the church team with under Lane Schrantz, and for 4 years launched our campuses. So I got to do 14 of those, and then Mark Pettis called me and was like, "Hey, I'm over here." This was before Highlands College. We were in nursery preschool rooms at the time. Like it wasn't what we see today. He said, "I'm over here doing this college thing. Do you want to come join me?" And my first thought was, "No."
Why?
I'm a church guy, man. I love church. And back then that's what I say. Now I see, the church and the college, they both complement each other so well. And so anyway, I ended up praying about it. Felt like the Lord told me to do it, and jumped in. So that's been almost 10 years.
So what made you want to go from you're like working in business and successful at it to now I'm going to go be on staff at a church?
I think it's just that thing. My dad, growing up in a pastor's home, my dad always told me, like, if you can't do anything else, then do ministry. Yeah, and I think that's where I found myself is, even at a young age, finding success there. And it just was not scratching the itch, and I knew that there was more to it. And so I will say God wastes nothing. So I mentioned the 14 campuses I got to be a part of at Highlands. I learned that multi-site model as a 26-year-old, not knowing what I'm doing, regional manager, leading 17 locations and understanding. So it was, God wastes nothing. Even in that process, he was teaching me stuff.
So you probably took a nice little pay cut jumping from business to ministry initially right there, huh?
2/3 household pay cut. Now I'm not keeping count, but 2/3 household pay cut. Yeah, when we made that jump. So worth every bit of it.
So if you can do anything else, do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You do anything else, do it. In ministry, obviously the kingdom of God, the mission of God, we're all a part of that no matter where we are. Yeah. So even selling drywall, you're touching people's lives, but there was just that. Is what my dad told me. I knew there was more, something else I had to do.
I think that's a lost value in many church circles. Seeing, I think Dorothy Sayers, she talked about it a lot, right? About there not being any separation between a member in your church that is a teacher and educator, a guy in business. Like we have to teach them how they can build a kingdom where they're at, and I think it's something that's not really talked about a lot.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's cool to see you in the role that you are in with Highlands College now, because I got to know you in Highlands College. I always felt like, I always tell people, you and Leanna Bird, like I felt like you guys raised me in Highlands College.
Young Nathan.
Young Nathan.
He's come a long way.
He has come a long way. You've done a great job.
I mean, it was 10 years ago.
Really proud of you, man. You're incredible.
But it's really cool to see where you are now and what you're doing. And just walking onto campus, like we were driving onto campus today, and I told Jason, I was like, is there anywhere else you go and you just like see what they have here, what they've been able to build with the level of excellence that they've done it as well. And so it's always a place that I feel like proud of the people there and proud to call home. Tell us a little bit about your role now and what you're up to.
Yeah, so serving as the COO at the college, a lot of people say, what does that mean? I think it depends on the day.
Yeah.
But really, I think less about the role and just how I'm wired. I think I'm wired in a way that just being under visionary leaders like Chris Hodges is our chancellor, Pastor Chris, and just seeing what God is putting in his heart and interpreting that, and then figuring out how do we actually bring that about? Like, what does that look like through your team and the strategy? So every day, that's what I'm thinking about is where are we going? What is God showing us? Where are we going? And how do we get there? And leading the team and all the efforts.
That's great. I'd love to kind of pivot a little bit and talk about this. A lot of the leaders that we work with, if it's in church, so we kind of our primary customers, not just church leaders, but also now a lot of nonprofits and mission-driven organizations. So maybe a company that just is mission-minded. A lot of the ones that we work with, they're at a place where they've been working for a while, but now they feel stuck. And they're just like, their team's stuck. They feel like they see all this vision in front of them, but it's just like, how do I get from here to there? Have you had to work through that with Highlands College? I'm sure even Church of the Highlands. Speak to that a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. And I think there's probably a lot of remedies for that, being stuck in something like that. I can share what we experienced. I remember Jason, was probably 4 or 5 years ago working with Mark Pettis. He was the president of the college. And I wouldn't say we were stuck, but like we were not getting the traction we wanted to get. So things were still moving, but not quite like we knew it could. This would actually been in 2020, even before, what everybody remembers. This would have been early before COVID. And we were having conversations around it. And what ended up coming out of that whole year's journey was a strategic plan. And so I think a lot of times what happened is you have vision, and especially in the early days, there's so much energy around that. The team is small. You've got, everybody's living and breathing in the same stuff all the time. You're in the same rooms, but as you grow, those rooms start dividing up some. They have to, the meetings are looking differently. And so the vision is still strong, but how you accomplish that gets a little blurry. Yeah. And I think that strategic plan really was able to kind of lay the tracks out. And then from there, just building out all the.
What did that look like, getting that plan? Who'd you get in the room? It wasn't, I'm sure, one person, but how did you accomplish that? How'd you get that?
It was actually about a 6 to 9 month process. We had a gentleman come in that led us through conversations, and we involved all of our stakeholders. So we looked at our team, of course, our leadership, our board, Pastor Chris, others that were leading us, our team, current students, prospective students, previous students or alumni, parents, and we just sat and talked to them around things. I mean, you started with a SWOT, something that simple. What is it you love about AC? And it really helped us begin to identify, because here's the reason why the SWOT's important, is if you don't really do that assessment up front, it doesn't matter what kind of plan you have in front of you.
Very good.
You have your own blind spots. Yeah. And so we were able to address those before we even got started.
That's great.
And it really,
we call it perspective planning. That's one of the things that we do. We'll get a lead pastor and their executive team, or founder and their exec team in a room. And usually we'll do 2 to 3 days, 8-hour sessions. And we have like 40, 50 constructs that we work through. And all of it really is asking the right questions, getting everyone's perspective in the room. And a lot of times, depending on, like, we do this one thinking wavelength thing that shows us kind of who's in the room, how they think. And you have some people that are really, it's on the 1, 2, 3 kind of keepers.
Tactical, administrative.
Tactical. And the first 2 days, they're like, why are we talking about all this? Let's make a plan.
We're just talking. We're not doing anything.
And let's get to work. And getting them through that process is always fun and interesting. But it is true, though. It's like asking the right questions. We'll do like SWOT, 4 helpful lists, some of those kind of things. And the more you kind of get clear on all that, here's where we've been, here's where we're at, now here's where we want to go, and then here's how we're going to get there. It's so important. It's like some of the best work that I think that we do with some of our clients.
I think another piece to that too, though, building the strategic plan and all that was, invaluable when I look at the journey of the college. But then on the flip side of that, operationalizing that strategic plan. So otherwise, it's just a dusty document.
We start off those 3-day offsites talking to the team about execution and implementation. Like, we're all going to come together. We're going to spend the next 3 days asking questions, painting a picture of what could be, talking about how we can get there. But if on the other side of this just stays on the wall, we're wasting our time and we're wasting your time. It's like, this has to be followed with strong execution and implementation. I know one of the
you got something on your arm right here. Let me help you.
I know one of the quotes that you kind of talked about is like, collaboration without execution is just conversation. And then you also mentioned execution without collaboration is compliance.
Yep.
And I love how you partnered those two together.
Yeah.
Unpack that a little bit more for us.
Yeah. So collaboration, I mean, we actually, a lot of the way we lead the college is in collaboratives, and was in some of those earlier today. So collaboration is we talk a lot about that around here, but execution is kind of like the forgotten younger brother to collaboration.
Yeah.
That is very important, and you have to have both. So oftentimes what we have found ourselves in is seasons where there was high collaboration happening and great conversations. Like we're really good ideas. We're finding opportunities and we're finding ways to actually capitalize on those, at least from an ideation standpoint. Communication cross-departmentally is happening. Everybody's in the know. Like all of that is going really, really well. But then you look at what your outcomes are, what you're trying to accomplish and whatever that is, and you realize we didn't quite get there. And so collaboration, you can have a lot of meaningful conversations and whiteboard sessions, but at the end of the day, it doesn't produce the results.
Yeah. Feels good, but doesn't produce anything.
Doesn't produce it. Now the flip side can be true for execution. You can crush it on the execution side, and we could have the enrollment class we wanted. We could make everything in the college look exactly like we want, but the feel of coming to work every day doesn't feel good. And then honestly, how you got there wasn't the best way. Like I've learned, I probably tend more. If you haven't picked up yet, I lean towards execution. Yeah, I can get things done, but I've also learned that if I'll slow down and collaborate, I still get it done. But I actually did it a little bit differently, but better. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got those extra perspectives along. So, compliance is execution without collaboration. It turns into compliance, which means everybody's just yes sir doing what you tell them.
Yeah, we like to say, well, there's weigh-in, there's buy-in. Yeah. So you bring that collaborative. It's a great way to say it. So important.
What if your team had a clear roadmap for the next 12 months on what was most important? Complete with objectives, key metrics, owners, and deadlines. And not only that, but also the accountability to see the plan through. Through our team planning offsites, we're able to help you unlock and identify where you are, where you want to go, and how to get there. With a focus on goals, key metrics, and actionable strategies, we'll build a plan that keeps you on track all year and provide the accountability to ensure that you execute what you planned. If you plan your work and you work your plan will work if it's a good plan. If you're ready to set up your team for success, clarity, and a clear roadmap moving forward, you can go to sidecarleader.com/coaching and let's make your vision a reality.
You have this formula. I'm going to read it so I don't mess it up. Alignment plus entrustment plus accountability equals outcome. Yep. Before we unpack the pieces, where does that come from? And what made you start thinking this way?
So this came from, I still remember when we first started thinking, this came from, I'm an identical twin. I have a brother who leads a church in Austin, Texas.
And it's so confusing because I'll see one of y'all at a conference and I don't know if I don't know which one I'm seeing.
People, yeah.
I've done that before.
We're basically the same person. I'm just better. So I don't know. But he and we talk a lot about this kind of stuff. And he shared with me, this gentleman that leads at their church came to him and said, you can lead any size organization, big or small. He actually leads at a high level in the military. And he said, you can lead any organization, big or small, with these three words: alignment, empowerment is the word that he used, and accountability. If you ensure that you have those three things, everything else falls underneath that. Well, we were experiencing some things here, and Mark and I were talking, and I mentioned it to him, and in the moment we both felt it. We were like, hey, I think this is really something for the college that we need to begin to really implement. So we spent several months. What does that mean for us? How do we apply it? So where it ends up playing out is the formula: alignment, entrustment, and accountability. We say entrustment instead of empowerment, but alignment, entrustment, and accountability equals whatever the outcome is you're looking for. Now, I just learned this over the last couple of years of studying mathematics because of this formula. You have two components to a mathematical formula. You have what's called the operator, which these are the symbols that we see, and they're really what gives action to the actual formula. And then you have what's called operands, which are the numbers or the variables, the numbers of the words that you put in your mathematical formula. Now, here's what's interesting. The operand, when alone, is pretty passive. It doesn't actually move anything. So a 4 by itself is just a 4. So alignment by itself is just alignment.
Yep.
Entrustment by itself is just trustment.
Yep.
You got to have these things that move it into action to produce the result.
Wow.
So in mathematics, that would be the plus sign, the minus sign, the multiplication, division. You guys get that. That's the operators. In our formula, the two operators that we have found, and I think it holds true, that actually moves alignment, entrustment, and accountability into action to produce an outcome are collaboration and execution. So you've got to have those two pieces in there in that equation.
That's great.
to really make it work well.
When you're not getting the outcome that you are anticipating or hoping for, can you go back to those 3 and see where you're missing the mark? Is that kind of the framework?
So far, we've been running this here for 3-4 years now, and yes, I mean all of it's kind of like you're constantly dialing. It depends on where you are too, Jason. Like if you've already come up with the idea, and you're working more on sometimes the accountability and execution, but you can dial it. Yes, you can always go back and see where you're missing.
That's a fascinating framework.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. I mean, I want to break that down a little bit. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, in the 3 of them, even to what you're saying, I've in my mind, I see it like a 3-legged stool. So as a leader, when you're leading something, you're carrying major weight, trying to carry all that. And when you put these 3 things underneath you, because who are you aligning? You're aligning your team. You're making sure they're aligned to the why. Who are you entrusting? You're entrusting your team. Where is the accountability? It's coming in with your team. Yourself, obviously, but also with your team. Well, what happens is as you build these out and you really begin to get them in your organization, when you're carrying that weight like a stool, I'm constantly, if I don't have those, as a leader, I'm constantly down here making sure everything is right. As soon as I get them right, I'm now resting on those. They're holding the weight, and my eyes are up as a leader. I'm no longer thinking about the minutia of the organization. I'm able to lead and see what I need to see. Now, the stool is only as strong as the weakest of those 3 legs.
Yeah.
So that's the piece, going back to your question you asked me.
I can almost think of our current clients and previous clients, and one of those 3 is usually what's broken. Sometimes it's all 3 and they really need our help. But a lot of times it's the alignment piece is what we find a ton, and that accountability piece.
And that's what I wanted to ask about, because I think it's easy to have a false sense of alignment. We're all saying the same word, and we are all meaning a different thing. We have this exercise we call the blue circle. It's if you were to close your eyes, we do this in a group of people, close your eyes and imagine a blue circle. And then we ask them, how many of you, when you saw that, you saw a blue circle filled in versus the outline of a blue circle? And it's always split about 50-50. And the principle is we're all saying the same thing, but we're meaning something different. So especially as you guys have grown and scaled as a college, how do you know when there's like true alignment among the team and we all know what we're going after?
Well, I think even going back to your analogy is the meetings you're in. If you start the meeting with making sure everyone knows that we're talking about the outline of a blue circle and not a circle. And for us, it's usually rooted in why we're doing it. It's the principle or the why behind whatever event we're planning or whatever we're trying to accomplish. But you got to leave the meeting with the same conversation. So you got to end the meeting with, hey, do we all really understand? So what did we all just say? And you take a minute wherever.
And I think those are the small things that like we can think are rudimentary, but when you actually take the time to do those before and at the end of a meeting, it really does make it so much more effective. And to your point, you see so much more of an outcome to it as well. What does accountability look like in Highlands College? And especially as you think about this, because I think that word means a lot of different things to different people. So what does that look like here?
And I think, I mean, if we were to look at, that's probably the area we have to work on the most, is accountability. And for us, it means you are held accountable to the result. As a leader, though, I'm not walking around like looking for what's wrong. I'm here to support first. And so the way that we're able to get it really in the ecosystem is accountability is not like you're in trouble for what you did, what didn't happen or what you did wrong. Accountability is like, tell us what is not going well and what is not, what you may be doing incorrectly, so that we can come alongside support. Yeah. So for us, we actually, Pastor Mark led us in this a few years ago. We call it celebrating the red. So we do red, yellow, green. Everything's measurable. Everything has a number. You can't hold someone accountable to something that we can't tell where it is. And we actually celebrate the red. So when you walk in, it's not like, we literally, the first few meetings, we literally would stand up and clap when someone brought in a red. It says, so now people come in, if things are going well, they're like, I'm sorry, I don't have anything red, but there's things I can work on. So accountability just looks like, those conversations. Yeah. Every meeting we're looking at, we call them scoreboards. We're looking at those red, yellow, green metrics. We know what it is we're measuring, and we're working with helping each other.
Yeah. I think one of the things you said in there that's so key is making sure that everything's measured. Because I think so many of the churches we work with will start off kind of reviewing where they have been. And a lot of what they're saying is based off of how they feel. Like this, it feels like this event's really going well, or it feels like Sundays are going really well. But then you start asking questions and you realize there's no objective reason for why they are the way that they are. It's all based off of an emotion. And being able to start to create like a dashboard and scoreboards with them does help so much with painting a real picture, and then also bringing that accountability.
So this is something I actually started seeing this for the first time doing that regional manager job, that job I had in my 20s. And I think it happens a lot in mission oriented work. So whether it's nonprofit or church, because so much of what we do is people focused. We leading in that, we're people oriented. So those interactions are real important. But I can remember meeting with sales reps, and we would send them out on a sales call to go get the job or the client. And they would come back in, well, how did the lunch go? Oh, it was great. Yeah. It's a phenomenal meeting. And really what they were communicating back is what it felt like. Yeah. The lunch felt good. And then fast forward 3 months, 6 months, we didn't get the sale. The guy across the street did. Yeah. And it's like, so beginning, this isn't my saying, it's just something we hear a lot. Numbers never lie. Mm-hmm. Yep. And so when you go to the doctor, a doctor may ask me, do I feel overweight? And that look at me. I might say I could always do better. But it doesn't matter what I feel if I'm underweight or overweight. What matters is what's the scale set. Yeah. Yep. So we've got to have those measurables. But by the way, I think the feel does matter a lot too.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
Like the lunch still needs to feel good.
It needs to feel good.
You got to measure both. Yeah.
Are you an executive leader looking to level up? Or are you leading a team that could use a crash course into effective leadership? Our Leadership Masterclass teaches 7 essential leadership skills that you can implement immediately with your team. These are practical, proven strategies to help you lead with clarity and confidence. If you're ready to transform your leadership, sign up today at sidecarleader.com and get started with resources that you can use right away.
I think there's a lot of pastors that we talk to that, they're like, how was that event, or how was that conference, or how was Sunday? And it's all Phil. Mm-hmm. It's not, there's no metrics that matter. What would you say to like a pastor? Because you've worked in the pastor space. What would you say to a pastor? They need to make sure these are the metrics they're looking at to know if they're being effective.
Yeah. I think you got to start with understanding the difference between an output and an outcome. Yeah. So, we won't go deep into that for time's sake. I think in churches, and even at the college, we measure outputs really quickly. That's Sunday attendance. That's small group attendance. That's number of students that are attending the college. Outcome is, what is the meaningful life change, or what is the meaningful change I'm wanting to see happen in the 100 people that are coming on Sunday? Yeah. And how can I measure that? And, it's a lot more challenging to do that. So if you're doing a marriage conference, I'll use that example. One output may be we want X number of people to attend, or X percentage growth year over year. That's a great goal to have. And tells us we're reaching more people. But also going into that, what type of marriage change are we wanting to see in our church? Yeah. And how do we measure that? We may need to do a pre-survey with the couples that are coming and build that into the registration process, where they're able to, where is your marriage on a scale of 9 to 10, or how equipped do you feel to lead your marriage? And then after the marriage conference, you run the same a 1 to 10, run the same survey, and you hope that it went from an 8 to a 9 or from a 6 to an 8. And
Did you run that type of framework when you were in business?
Not as much in business, is more output driven on the profit side, because it's not, you're not as much, but you are watching that all the time. Like the numbers are, your win, your scoreboard in business is profit. Like you have a very clearly defined. I think that value came over with me in the ministry. And then specifically in the college space, in education, accreditation, you're not measuring how many students you have. You're measuring the student learning outcomes. Are they becoming the individuals that we set out for them to become? So in education, the whole accreditation process brought this whole new paradigm for output versus outcome, and how do you measure those things?
I would love to hear you talk about Miller's framework for the barbarian to bureaucrat. We've kind of taken that. I didn't read the book, but I just kind of got the cliff notes. And I created something called Man to Mausoleum, and it's a whole thing but we relate it more so to churches. But I'd love to hear you. Maybe there's somebody that's listening, they don't have any clue what that framework is. Talk about that a little bit, kind of expound on it.
Yeah, so it's a great framework, and it follows the typical, you'll see this in corporate life cycles. There's a lot of different models. The typical bell curve of organizational growth, where you hit a peak and then you begin your decline on the other side. What I love about Miller's book, though, is the way that he approaches it through the people. What type of people, and how it's people, but also a mindset. Like, what is the mindset of the organization, which I find very interesting, the way he brings it in. But it starts out with you have kind of this founder, or what he calls the prophet. So it's a person that could see that something that is not. You see that in churches. That's the church planner. That's the founding pastor. High control. They're one of one. Day one, there's no one else there. So high control, can really see things. Then comes along what he calls the barbarians. And these are the individuals, the early adopters of that. It's the launch team. They wear multiple hats. I'm greeting, and in the kids' room, you do whatever it takes. There's no system. There's no rhyme or reason. Everyone's just showing up. And honestly, in both of those, pros and cons. A lot of pros, but pros and cons. And then you go into what he calls, I think he calls it the builder and the explorer that are next. And that's where you start seeing some things come to shape. Now, the trick is, as you go from builder to explorer, that curve begins to kind of tap out a little bit. And then you get just on this side to something he calls the administrator. And then you get into the bureaucrat and the aristocrat. We don't want to go anywhere near that. You got top down, high control again.
Making decisions just based on their benefit.
Don't know what's going on the ground. Aristocrats have never even really done the job. They're just there because of, whatever.
Positionally.
So you don't want to go there. That's major decline, no coming back. But when you get in this administrator, builder, explorer type of moment, kind of at the peak, what's happening is the organization is going from this, they now can see the vision. Like the founder's vision is pretty clear. It's on the walls. If you come to Highlands College, you see it on all the walls. We're beginning to put some systems in place that are needed for the growth and the scale, but the systems are beginning to lead, maybe more than they should. Then that explorer mentality is drifting. So you're not really trying to look for new ways. You're just running the play over
managing.
And you're at the peak. Now the danger with the peak is you don't know you're dropping often until it's too late.
It looks the same.
If you look at that bell curve on both sides, the booming and to use that language of life cycle, and decelerating, usually the resources are the same. It has a false sense of like you're still in that same place. It's so deceiving. And I love Pastor Mark Pettis shares this analogy that I know we remember the Challenger, shuttle, the Challenger that exploded. I think that would have been in the 90s. Had a teacher on huge news. And as this shuttle is going to space, NASA controls command knew that it was going to explode about a minute before it did. And the truth is, the people in the shuttle, that mission was already done. It was over. And yet for the next minute, it continued to climb because of the momentum it already had. And I think a lot of people in organizations, that moment has already arrived. Like it's over, but the momentum continues to push. And that's what's happening at the top of those bell curve. However, Miller gives us the antidote for the whole thing. And it's what he calls the synergist. And you see the bell curve kind of does this thing where it flips back up again. And you actually kind of start the process over. All the synergist does. The synergist is the person that has the ability to go tap into what's the best of the founder,
what's best of the barbarians, what's best of the builder and explorer, and that administrator, and he or she brings all, or a team, it doesn't have to be one person, brings all that back together to ensure that the organization continues to grow. So you keep the best of all of them.
Yeah. So how do you identify where your organization is on that bell curve?
I think a lot of it has to do with how decisions are made, the time it takes to make decisions, what are happening with new ideas, how are people that, because what happens is, even as a mature organization, you still need prophets within your organization. Yeah. You need people that's where innovation comes from.
Yeah.
People that see things that maybe not for the whole organization, but they have a vision for different areas. So if you begin to see a lot of those things diminish, you're probably on that right side of the bell curve.
Yeah.
How many prophets in organizations, the pastor, founding CEO or whatever, how many of them fail to employ the synergists out of insecurity or threat or whatever? Like, is that one of the things that keeps them from doing that?
Yeah, I think it happens. I think it's a lack of understanding the role, what they do. Because the synergist role itself is it's a unique role in the sense that in some ways it's everything, in other ways it's nothing. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because it's really setting the table for everyone else to be there. I also think what happens sometimes is the administrator, the bureaucrat, is that part of it, be part of the organization, which could be a team. It doesn't have to be a single person. Is they begin to lead. They don't like that prophet and they don't like that barbarian a whole lot. Yeah. Because they're messing up my systems. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're kind of in the way. So it almost, in some ways, those two collide in a way. And here's the deal. I mean, at an organization like that, typically the bureaucrat or the administrator, they have the power to. Yeah. They have the mic. So it's hard to get those two working. What I've seen happen, I love this about Pastor Chris here, I love this about Pastor Mark, is both of them, they still have that prophetic vision for where we're going, and they're sharing that with the team. But even as big time leaders, they create spaces for the young prophets, the young barbarians to step into and share what they're seeing, to play with things and develop new systems.
I want to ask you more about that, because I know one of the things that you've talked about is having healthy conflict around ideas. I mean, you said execution without collaboration is just compliance. And so I think in order to have that, you've got to have a place where ideas can be challenged, which can be hard in the ministry space specifically, where you also want to honor whoever it is that, is leading the charge. So how do you create a team and an environment where people can have conflict around ideas?
Well, I think it probably starts with those of us with ideas recognizing that we have an idea, we are not our idea.
That's great.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times, if I bring an idea to the table and you shoot it down, if I don't have that right, I feel like you shot me down. Yeah. Or you had a different. So I think it starts with those who are sharing the ideas to make sure they have that perspective. I think the second component of that is obviously leading the room. And this is what I do appreciate about what we have at the college and what's been modeled to us, and what we try to continue to do is, when you're in those spaces, what is the best idea? It's the one that works. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you're in those spaces, the best idea is not my idea. It's the one that works. And creating a room so that there's no hierarchy. Yeah. There's no, you sit in a room, and those idea rooms, by the way, should not be built based on an org chart. Mm-hmm. They should be built based on
that's great.
Who's the most competent, who has the best view, who has views we don't have. Let's bring everybody in the room and open conversation. Conflict is a part of it, and I think, why conflict, you guys know this, in ministry, conflict is avoided because we think it's mean or it's not life-giving. Mm-hmm. Maybe it can be very life-giving. Yeah. I think when you learn how to do it well, we find this. It's probably one of the most life-giving things that happen on a daily basis.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that quote. If everyone's thinking the same, no one's thinking. Yeah. Right. It's so easy in the church space to, being in a little echo chamber and everybody's just thinking the same. There's no space for someone to speak up.
Yeah.
But what I found, like, I love the phrase that we try to say. We try to bake it into the culture. The best idea wins. There's no offense. Don't take it personal, but the best idea is going to win, and we're going to go with the best idea.
One of the things you really do a great job at in those environments is, as the leader, you don't come in and state your idea first, because I think naturally, because of like the position that you're in, if it's as the founder, as the lead pastor, if you have an idea, it's easy for other people to be like, okay, yes, that's what we're going to do. Whereas you'll let everyone else around the table have the opportunity to speak first. And then you'll come in at the end and normally give your 2 cents or, prop up another idea or throw out a new idea out there. But I think allowing space for other people to speak, I've seen that be really key to that.
Great.
Yeah.
Is your team ready to thrive? Do they have the resources and clarity that they need to succeed? In our team coaching sessions, we provide the tools and principles needed to drive health and growth, and most importantly, clarity in your organization. We believe that clarity brings the confidence to lead effectively. So many times we're too close to the problems to see them correctly, and through coaching, we're able to bring objectivity and no emotional attachment to help you see your organization clearly. Together, we'll develop a strategic path that empowers your team to implement best practices and take on new challenges with confidence. Let's unlock your team's potential. Want to learn more? Head over to sidecarleader.com/coaching and let's talk about your goals and how we can help you accomplish them.
Thank you. I feel like I should pay you for saying that. Oh man, there's so much I want to talk about over here. You talk about the 5 levels of execution. I know we talked about execution a little bit. From just getting tasks done all the way to work that multiplies. You say most teams stall around levels 2 or 3. Why does that happen? And what does it take to break through that?
Yeah, it's great. So level 2 and 3, first of all, level 2 would mean level 1 is I'm great at executing on my daily tactics. Like I can come in as an individual contributor, I can come in and get my job done and go home and I perform my rule of 5 that day. Level 2 would be we as a team, we execute consistently. So put this in a church context. That simply means that we're pulling off Sundays really well. Like we consistently have a great Sunday service. Level 3 is we are able to execute on initiatives. So as a team, we're now operating, maybe we decide to launch a small group semester. Not only did we execute consistently on our weekend service, but we launched an incredible small group semester with 10% growth. So what happens, what I've seen happen here at the college, and I think many churches, at least the friends that I talk to, is we get stuck right there thinking that as long as we're doing that, we're really winning the game. Like we're winning. But if you were to even put that in a sports analogy, all that simply means is I'm getting first downs and I scored a touchdown. Yep. We have to know what is the outcome? What is it that we're really trying to accomplish? And in a ministry context, education is life change. Mm-hmm. Yep. And we just got to ask the question. And those are the churches, the colleges, the organizations that are executing at a really high level, which would be around level 4, where you're actually executing consistently. You're executing on initiatives and you're executing on your mission. You're accomplishing that mission you set out to do.
Yeah.
What's level 5?
Level 5 would be you're now executing on your mission and it has now gone to an influential level. So even externally, you're able to help them execute, or they're watching what you're doing there.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. I feel like you're
influencing others in their execution.
I think most of the organizations we work with, they're pretty good on the collaboration side, but again, it is the execution side that they really need like great systems and resources to be able to come alongside to help them out with that. What are some resources that have been helpful to you that would be good for executive pastor or someone over operations in a nonprofit?
For execution, I mean, the Traction, I think, is the book where you guys are shaking your head. I mean, to me, just thinking about what Gino Wickman wrote in that book, it's phenomenal. And honestly, if you were to look at a lot of what we do at the college, it really is Traction. Now we put our own language to it, our own skin. At the end of the day, execution is it's a discipline. I think a lot of us, here's what a lot of people, and even talking with young leaders at the colleges they're growing, are you collaborative? Are you a collaborator or are you an executor? That's the question everyone asks. I think we're asking the wrong question, because it's not being a collaborator or an executor. That's not who we are. Those are things we do.
Yeah.
Those are skills we can learn. Those are patterns that we can learn. Those are that we can learn. I'm not a natural collaborator. I'm not. I'm a 3 on the Enneagram. It's about efficiency. Collaboration is very inefficient when you're trying to get something done. Like I'm having to go, what do you mean I got to go talk to 3 people? But I already know the idea that's going to work. And you're asking me to go ask 4 more people and get their input. We're still going to take the hill. Now I've learned asking them, we take it in a better way. We on the backside. So I think, for the out for churches when it comes to execution is, collaboration is more people oriented. We want to go there. But execution, man, it's a skill we got to learn.
Yeah.
That's
great.
That's great. Awesome. Hey, if there's a leader that's listening to this conversation, we've talked a lot about execution. We even circled back to it because we probably have a bent towards that because it's one of the essentials that we coach in. And I think it's probably comes out of some of our, I don't want to say frustration, but learnings.
Yeah, I think it's a weakness we've seen.
It's just so prevalent. But if someone's listening to this, we've talked about collaboration and execution. How would they diagnose which one they're deficient in? What would be like the telltale signs if it's one or the other?
Yeah, I think I'll start with collaboration, then spend a minute on execution. What you're seeing when you're deficient in collaboration, and I'll say what I do even when I'm deficient in collaboration, is I tend to come with my idea. So I come in the room with, here's an idea that I've thought of. Here's an initiative or a strategy that I think we should deploy. And if someone were to ask me, well, who else did you talk to or who else did you study? I don't have much of an answer for that. Mm-hmm. So that obviously is a telltale sign of a lack of collaboration. I think when your teams are, you hear this a lot in the organization. I didn't know we were doing that. Well, if I would have known, or no one brought me into that conversation. That is a siloed, lack of.
And what does that do to the team?
Oh, I think it demoralizes the team. It creates frustration. I think a lack of empowerment. It turns them
lack of ownership.
It creates all that among your team. I think a lack of execution. If you're deficient there, you're not hitting the goals that deadlines are missed. Mm-hmm. You set goals for whatever the goal may be, for a numerical goal, and you get to the date that you're supposed to be there, and you realize, well, we're 10 short, and you make an excuse, but then that happens again, and it happens again, and it happens again. That execution is you just don't hit the goals. You set out
and what does that do to the team?
Oh, I think it's equally, if not more, demoralizing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you don't know whether you're winning or not. Everybody wants to know.
Yeah.
I think it makes it hard to attract great people too. Like if you have no great track record of winning, or people feel like they can't move the needle forward.
It breeds mediocrity.
Yeah. So you close your framework that we were reading through it. It's, first of all, you're a brilliant mind. I guess before I ask this question, who's 3 people that you're learning from currently right now?
I'm learning a lot from Chris Hodges, like almost daily.
We got someone calling in.
Yeah. Is that Pastor Chris right now?
I'm learning a lot from him. Obviously, in my day to day, someone who I've always learned from has been, of course, Mark Pettis. Just over the last 10 years, working closely with him, I read a lot, so it's hard to say one individual. Rob Hoskins with One Hope.
He's a genius. We need to get him on this podcast.
100%. Studying how they do what they do, just how they think about strategy and theory of business and theory of change. Learning a lot from that group.
What are you reading right now?
I'm in a doctoral program, so I'm reading a lot on the mission of God, a lot of Ott, and a lot around that. So
that's awesome. So my last question for you was. You close out your framework with 3 moves: know the muscle you're flexing, identify owners, and hold the team to results, not feelings. Walk us through what it looks like to actually implement that in real organization, not theoretical, like real deal.
It's good. Knowing the muscle you're flexing, the muscles would be collaboration versus execution. And I think you got to know what moment you're in So collaboration, you're flexing that muscle while you're creating the plan, while you're coming up with what we're going to do, how we're going to accomplish it, when we're going to accomplish it by, how are we going to measure that we've done that. Once you're done with that process and you've got the plan written, whether it's a small group semester launch or any type of new initiative, you got to flip that muscle over to execution. And once you flip to execution, what happens is even the room changes. Yeah. So when you're in collaboration, I'm not using an org chart to set that conversation. When I flip to execution, I now have to look at who are the teams, who's leading what, who's responsible for what. So now I'm moving into a different mindset to set that up. So constantly just looking at where are we and the decision, how far are we in the decision making?
Do you clearly name those meetings? Like, these are our collaborative meetings, these are our execution meetings, just to have a definitive line?
Yeah, we have what we call collaboratives. It's not that we don't name anything execution from that standpoint. In those collaborative rooms where we do look at the metrics and the numbers. Now, where the execution will play out is this afternoon, we're going to have a meeting about commencement. We don't call it execution, but everyone knows when we walk in that room, we're doing a run through for our commencement service coming up in a couple of weeks. We're planning. The collaboration has happened. This is an execution meeting.
Yeah. That's one of the things that we found in specifically the creative process is being able to give people direction around what kind of meeting this is really helpful. Or else what you'll have is when you're ideating, you have a lot of people that are, people don't know that's an ideation meeting, then they're just shooting down every ideas and you're not able to dream as you hope to be. Yep. Then once you move into execution, if you have the wrong people, they're still dreaming. You're like, guys, we've moved past that. We've got a deadline we've got to hit. We need to execute now.
You can't get it done.
And so I think being able to have a clear framework for people of here's the meeting, here's the agenda, and here's what we hope the outcomes to be, helps people just to win in the meeting and know hey, this is what my contribution is supposed to be here. And this is where we are in the process as well.
Yeah. Last question for you.
Yeah.
What's the question that we should have asked you that we didn't ask that would pull the gold out of you that's in there?
It's a great question. I think y'all asked a lot of great questions. First of all, I think I wish that we could talk more about execution from the standpoint of how do you live in a vision-rich, highly creative environment that is constantly coming up with new ideas, collaborating, and do a little bit of what you said, Nathan. How do we continue to execute at a high level and allow room for those things to continue? And let the Spirit lead, let God lead where we're going. How do you balance all that? In this environment?
Maybe that'll be part 2.
Who knows?
Part 2. Hey, thank you so much for your time. I know that you've got a lot on your plate, but investing in this conversation, I think it's going to be really helpful for people.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Thanks for the opportunity. I enjoyed it.